Graduates, honored guests, family members and friends, I am Dr. Monica Cohn Christensen, Dean of Students. On behalf of the entire Manhattan School of Music community, it is my great pleasure and honor to welcome you to Manhattan School of Music's 93rd Commencement Ceremony. As a courtesy to those around you and out of respect for the occasion, we ask that you take the time now to turn cell phone ringers off. As a further courtesy, please refrain from all cell phone use during the ceremony. As a matter of public safety, ushers are required by law to keep aisles and stairways clear. Please do not stand in the aisles to take photos. A professional photographer will take photos of each graduate during the ceremony. We thank you for your cooperation. Please rise and remain standing for the processional. Bachelor of Music. The candidates for the degree of Master of Music. Professional Studies Certificate. Administration of Manhattan School of Music. Platform Party, including members of the Board of Trustees, distinguished honorees, the President's Council, and the Chair of the Board and President of Manhattan School of Music. I now have the great privilege of introducing members of MSM's Board of Trustees present today. Trustees are volunteers who give their time, talent, and treasure to ensure that each MSM student receives a world-class education. And these dedicated people do most of this work without accolades or public recognition. Please hold your applause until all trustees have been introduced. Trustees, please rise as I call your name and remain standing to be recognized. Chair of the Board, Lorraine Gallard. Nancy Freund Heller. Bill O'Connor. Melody Sawyer Richardson. Laura Sametz. And now it is my honor to introduce to you the Chair of the Board of Trustees of Manhattan School of Music, Lorraine Gallard.
Graduates, families, friends, and esteemed guests, this ceremony marks the culmination of a rigorous course of study in which you, our students, have worked tirelessly to develop your highest potential as musicians and as individuals. Today is a celebration of all that hard work, a celebration of your talent, a celebration of the rewards of perseverance and discipline, a celebration of what each of you has accomplished at MSM, and of course, a celebration of the joy of music. Many of the relationships you built here, whether they are with fellow classmates, mentors, or teachers, will stay with you forever. Although you are embarking on a new stage of life that will most likely take you well beyond the walls of MSM, please always know that this community, which is made up of those classmates, mentors, and teachers, cares about you and is a place to which you can, and I hope will, return often. We, the members of the Board of Trustees and the entire MSM community, are proud of you, and we offer you our very best wishes as you leave this special place. We all look forward to celebrating with you today and in the years to come. Congratulations to all of you on this very special day.
It is now my pleasure to introduce to you the President of Manhattan School of Music, Dr. James Gandry.
Congratulations, class of 2019. It is my personal honor to be here with you all to celebrate this momentous occasion in your lives. I have had the great pleasure of getting to know many of you during the 1, 2, or 4 years, and in some cases 6 years, because you have 2 degrees, you were studying here. At least a third of you have also been my and my husband's neighbors in Anderson Hall. Except for those who will return next year for a higher degree, I will miss seeing all of you so regularly on our campus. Students, you came to MSM from around this country and around the world, from as far as Australia and New Zealand and China to Wyoming to Florida to Maine to New York City. Your time at MSM has forever changed you. Because you chose to come to MSM, your education and your experiences have been different. Your views of music are different. Your friends are different. Your perspective of the world and your place in it are different. Your education has included thousands of hours of individual practice and study. It has included analytic work in theory and historical study and perspective through musicology courses. It has included small group work, in chamber ensembles and combos, and also provided you with large ensemble experiences as well. And for you who are undergraduates, your humanities courses have expanded your view of the world. And through all of this work, you have learned about personal and individual discipline and sacrifice. You've learned the workings and joys of collaboration and small ensembles, and you have learned the need to sometimes follow a leader when you've performed in one of our jazz bands, or in orchestra, or in choir, or in an opera production. And you have learned about excellence, how very hard it is to achieve, and how rewarding it is when it happens. Your MSM education and experiences here have actually not only laid the foundation for you for a possible life in music, but it also has given you experiences and training to allow for endless possibilities that life may present. These successes are in large part directly related to the dedication, talent, and commitment of the faculty and the staff. They have nurtured and mentored you. They have challenged you. They have talked through problems with you. And they have been so joyful watching you excel. In recognition of that dedication, talent, and commitment to all of you, I ask that all of the faculty and staff stand and be recognized by our students. Graduates, I look forward to congratulating each and every one of you personally later in the ceremony and at the reception, but for now, once again, congratulations, class of 2019.
Introducing the recipients of this year's Commencement Awards is Professor Laura Sametz, musical theater faculty member and faculty representatives on our Board of Trustees.
In your program, you will find full descriptions of the Commencement Awards. Award recipients, please rise to be acknowledged when your name is read. Please remain standing until all award recipients are acknowledged. The audience is asked to hold your applause until all the recipients are recognized. The winners of the Alan M. and Joan Taub AIDS vocal competition are Hairi Shin, Kelly Singer, Hannah Friesen. Please stand. The winners, the recipient of the Harold Bauer Award is Kalia Plamanova Kalchea. The recipient of the William H. Borden Award in Jazz is Savannah Grace Harris. The recipient of the Saul Braverman Award in Music Theory is Yu Tsan Sien. The recipient of the Raphael Bronstein Award in Violin is Andi Chang. The recipient of the Pablo Casals Award for Musical Accomplishment and Human Endeavor is Adam Goldstein. The recipient of the John Clark Award in Brass is Jonathan Michael Sales. The recipient of the Helen Cohn Award in Chamber Music is William Woodard. The recipient of the Helen Cohn Award for Outstanding Doctoral Work is Wonky Lee. The recipient of the Cecil Collins Award in Brass is Olivia Louise Peedy. The recipient of the Helen Eroff Dowling Award for violin performance is Guolong Wang. The recipient of the Nicholas Flagello Award in Composition is Shengnan Cao. The recipient of the Richard F. Gold Career Grant in Opera, given by the Shoshana Foundation, is Kseni Dvoras Andriana. One more time, Kseni Andriana Dvoras. The recipient of the Carl Cantor Prize are Selina Fisher and Sun Bin Kim. The recipient of the Hugo Korchak Award for Chamber Music is Tal James McKee. The recipient of the Courter Musical Foundation Award for Chamber Music is Jennifer Ahn. The recipient of the Homer Mensch Award in Double Bass is Ensol Jo. The recipient for the Outreach Award for Outstanding in MSM Arts in Education and Community Engagement Programs is Jenny Shu. The recipients of the Provost's Award for Academic Excellence is Tal James McGee and Melanie Beryl Spector. The recipient of the Bronson Regan Award in Organ is Austin Stephen Philemon. The recipient of the Hugh Ross Award in Voice is Yvette Keong. The recipient of the Janet Daniel Skank Award for Distinguished Contribution to the Life of the School is Riley Lane Bragg. The recipient of the Andre Segovia Rose Augustine Award is David Vasquez. The recipient of the Stan Stesser Career Award in Voice is Xiao Tong Sao. The recipient of the Josephine C. Woodford Award for the enrichment of the spirit of the school is Veronica Mack. Congratulations to all the recipients. Everyone be seated. Thank you.
Good afternoon. We are the 5 graduating members of the Contemporary Performance Program, or CPP. I'd like to thank the Provost, Dr. Griggs, for inviting us to perform for you today. The piece we are playing is called Artificial Life 2007 by American composer George Lewis. The composer has not written any notes or rhythms, only a set of guidelines to encourage collective improvisation. This piece is about responding to each other, making room for each other, and about making something brand new together every time we play it. In playing this piece for you, we'd like to celebrate the same spirit of community, spontaneity, and generosity of expression that is cultivated in CPP and at MSM.
It is now my pleasure to call upon Provost Griggs and President Gandry to introduce this year's recipients of the President's Medal for Distinguished Service.
It is my honor to present the recipients of the President's Medal for Distinguished Service. The recipients this year are John Blanchard, Lori Carney, and John Fricone. John Blanchard, please join President Gandry and me at the podium. John Blanchard, your longevity with the Manhattan School of Music began when you enrolled as a scholarship student with flutist and conductor Ransom Wilson, earning a Master of Music 30 years ago. Currently, you serve as MSM's inaugural institutional historian and director of archives, a position you initiated in 2015. In this momentous year of the school's centennial, you have provided indispensable insight and contributions to the planning and execution, as well as documentation, as we celebrated our remarkable history. Over your 3-decade career at MSM, you have served the school in a variety of roles and departments. These include admissions, development operations, the annual fund, and within alumni affairs. Your contributions also include improving alumni engagement and services by modernizing the school's database for alumni, creating an online presence for them, and establishing a student philanthropy program. You also implemented a series of annual reunions and distinguished alumni awards. From 1993 until 2006, you led the school's Placement Career Services Office, which has now evolved into what we know as the Center for Music Entrepreneurship. You have lectured and been quoted widely on the development of effective job search materials, and you co-founded the Network of Music Career Development Officers. For these distinct contributions, we honor you today.
John Blanchard, for your 30 years of dedication and commitment to MSM, for your leadership role in this year's centennial celebrations, and for your work developing and meticulously ensuring the accuracy of the school's historical record, I am proud to award you the President's Medal for Distinguished Service.
Lori Carney, please join President Gandry and me at the podium. Lori Carney, you are a cherished member of our MSM faculty. You are a founding member of MSM's Artists in Residence, the American String Quartet. Your contributed leadership at MSM also includes your service as Vice Chair of MSM's Faculty Council. Your storied career began at the age of 15 when you became the youngest violinist ever admitted to Juilliard's College Division. Since then, and among many other accomplishments, you have shared the stage with some of the world's leading artists, including Isaac Stern, Yefim Bronfman, Pinchas Zuckerman, and Fredrika von Stade. Been featured in Mozart's Sinfonia Concertante with the Bournemouth Symphony and the Basque Symphony Orchestra, and frequently you perform duo recitals with violist Michael Tree. With the Naumburg Award-winning ASQ, you have recorded extensively and performed across continents, North America, South America, Europe, Asia, and Israel. a faculty member at the Aspen Music Festival since 1974, and a member of our faculty since 1984. We celebrate your 35 years of contribution to this school and offer our sincere appreciation for enriching the lives of our students.
Lori Carney, for your long-standing commitment to teaching and mentoring MSM violin and chamber music students, for your stalwart faculty leadership, and for your superb musicianship as part of the American String Quartet, I am proud to award you the President's Medal for Distinguished Service.
Thank you, President Gandry and Provost Griggs, for this exceptional honor. I'm truly humbled. For 35 years, it's been my pleasure and great privilege to be a part of this nurturing, inclusive community. While we all strive to educate and develop our young musicians' artistic abilities, it's also our collective responsibility to create a supportive environment that encourages respect for others, integrity, character, and compassion. These are ultimately the qualities that prepare them for their future in music and in life. So in marking the 100th anniversary of Manhattan School of Music, let's make achieving these goals in the future the best part of this historic celebration. Thank you.
John Fracconi, please join President Gandry and me at the podium. John Fracconi, in 1982, you began teaching chamber music in the pre-college. Later appointed as a faculty member to the collaborative piano department for the college in 1989, and subsequently becoming chair in 1995. You received your Bachelor of Music and Master of Music from MSM and were the recipient of the Harold Bauer Award. After graduation, you spent 7 seasons as assistant music director and pianist at the Asolo Opera Company in Sarasota. You have collaborated with singers and instrumentalists at Wild Recital Hall, Cami Hall, Merkin Concert Hall, and many other prestigious venues throughout the U.S. In the summers, you contribute your talents as a faculty member of the Down East Chamber Music Center in Maine, music at Orchard Hill in Vermont, and the International Summer Music Festival in Taiwan. You have served as a vocal coach and a pianist at Purchase College, State University of New York, and on the piano faculty at New York University. Upon our first meeting, I knew that you carefully plan how collaborative piano majors, staff, and faculty serve the MSM student community. And for your distinguished service to MSM, we honor you today.
John Fracconi, for your unwavering 3 decades plus commitment to, and dedication to educating MSM's college and pre-college students, for your leadership of the collaborative piano department, and for your steady overall faculty leadership, I am proud to award you the President's Medal for Distinguished Service.
Thank you. President Gandry and Vice President Griggs, members of the Board of Trustees, our distinguished guests and honorees, my fellow faculty members, and all the staff members. I try to mention everybody because of my profession, which is collaboration. And yes, I do a lot of things in the school, but only because of my collaborators, the faculty that I work with, and all the staff members who make me look good, actually. And they cover up my mistakes. It has been, and still is, my privilege and honor to work at Manhattan School. It's kind of a dream come true, but it was totally unsought after. Things just happened, starting with the pre-college in 1982. And I'm very lucky today to have the person who brought me into the school in the audience. She's serving as my family member at this graduation, and her name is Diane Flagello. You may remember that name as one of the awards given earlier today. Her husband in composition is mentioned. When you get to be my age, you also, with one exception, with the exception of Harold Bauer, I knew most of the names of the awardees, or of the awards, I should say, not the awardees. So when you get a little long of tooth, as I am, you get to see it all. To the students, the graduates, that is, and your families, my congratulations. And I wouldn't be a teacher if I didn't offer a piece of advice in parting now, which I learned from my teacher here at Manhattan School. Always respect the music you are performing and make sure that you serve it, not the other way around. Congratulations.
Before our next musical interlude, I wanted to mention that we missed an award recipient. Jan Lee is the recipient of the Roy Rubenstein Award in Piano. Jan, are you out there? Okay. Well, yay! Congratulations.
Thank you for that beautiful performance. Now I ask retiring faculty member, Professor Hilda Harris, to come forward and join President Gandry and me at the podium. Today, we are honoring two faculty members, Professor Hilda Harris and Jim McNeely, who have collectively served MSM for 39 years. Unfortunately, due to performance engagements, Professor McNeely could not be with us today. Professor Harris, you have taught at MSM for 28 years. Through your passionate efforts in the classroom, studio, and rehearsal room, you have had a significant impact on the experiences of hundreds and hundreds of students, and you have made countless contributions to our community during your years of service. In honor of your service to this institution, President Gandry will award you emeriti status.
So before I bestow official investiture to Professors Harris and McNeely, I want to take a personal moment. 6 years ago this spring, I was appointed president of Manhattan School of Music. At the reception at MSM after the announcement of my appointment, I was greeted by new faces and by those with whom I had worked during my first time at MSM. One of those people was Hilda Harris. The photographer at the occasion caught a special moment of tremendous joy between you and I. When I chose the photo for the cover of the then newsletter that was going to announce my presidency, I chose that photo. I had that cover blown up and framed, and it hangs in my office. So you, Hilda Harris, are in my life each day I work at MSM. And you will continue in that place throughout my tenure here. Thank you so much for being part of MSM and being my friend. So now, officially, Provost Griggs, with the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I grant emeriti status to Professors Hilda Harris and Jim McNeely in recognition of their outstanding accomplishments in teaching, creative work, and service to Manhattan School of Music. On behalf of the entire MSM community, my sincerest thanks to them both. Congratulations.
Just a few words. The first two words are thank you, and I will repeat those two words for many, many, many days. Thank you to all of you for being here. Thank you to my colleagues for being wonderful, wonderful colleagues throughout my time at MSM. And thank you to the students who have come, who have graduated, who have sent their daughters and sons to Manhattan School of Music. Thank you to all of you for acknowledging me and saying to me that I count, that I have counted in your life and I have counted in your children's life. And it is a great honor to receive this award. Thank you very much.
It is my privilege to now present the candidates for the Honorary Doctor of Musical Arts degree. I call upon Peter Gelb to join President Gandry and me at the podium. Peter Gelb, in 2006, you became the 16th General Manager of the Metropolitan Opera. Your leadership at the Met has led to several innovative initiatives to revitalize opera through its connection to a wider audience. Under your inspired leadership, the Met has recruited many of the world's greatest theater, film, opera directors, and increased the number of new productions, as well as launching the Met Live in HD, an award-winning series of live performance transmissions to movie theaters now seen in more than 70 countries. Also at the Met, you initiated a commissioning program for new operas, free outdoor performances and recitals, as well as rush tickets and a 24-hour Met radio channel on Sirius XM and the online subscription service that our students enjoy, as well as those of us on the faculty and staff, called Met Opera On Demand. As is true with us all, your journey in this career required some, shall we say, working your way up. At the age of 17, as an office assistant for the performing arts impresario Saul Hurrick, you then became the assistant manager of the Boston Symphony Orchestra and later Vladimir Horowitz's manager during his career revival in the 1980s. From these humble beginnings, you then became president of CAMI Video until 1992 and were then appointed as president of the Sony Classical Record label before joining the Met. Along the way, you earned numerous honors, including multiple Emmy, Grammy, and Peabody Awards, the Sanford Prize from the Yale School of Music, and France's Chevalier de la Légion d'Honneur. For these lifetime accomplishments, we recognize and honor you today.
Peter Gelb, for your extraordinary contributions to and innovative leadership in the arts, with the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Manhattan School of Music and the Board of Regents of the State of New York, it is my distinct honor to confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Musical Arts honoris causa. Congratulations, Dr. Gelb. Okay, you're good.
Jane Glover, please join President Gandry and me at the podium. Jane Glover, you are a preeminent international conductor and maestra to all the major symphonies and chamber orchestras in Britain, as well as orchestras in Europe, the United States, Asia, and Australia. Since 2002, you have been music director of Music of the Baroque, which was hailed by Opera News as, quote, one of Chicago's musical glories, end quote. You made your professional debut at the Wexford Festival in 1975, and in 1979 joined Glyndebourne, becoming music director of Glyndebourne's touring opera from 1981 until 1985. You were artistic director of the London Mozart Players from 1984 through 1991, and have also held principal conductorships of both the Huddersfield and the London Choral Societies. From 2009 until 2016, you were Director of Opera at the Royal Academy of Music, where you are now the Felix Mendelssohn Visiting Professor. In recent seasons, you have appeared with the New York Philharmonic, the Cleveland Orchestra, the Philadelphia Orchestra, the San Francisco, Houston, St. Louis, Sydney, Cincinnati, and Toronto Symphony Orchestras, as well as the Orchestra of St. Luke's, the Belgrade Philharmonic, and the Orchestra Nationale de Bordeaux et Aquitaine, and of course with our very own Manhattan School of Music's Symphony Orchestra, and guest teacher in a masterclass for our vocal students just this year. In demand on the international opera stage, you have appeared with numerous companies, including the Metropolitan Opera, Royal Opera, Covent Garden, Washington Opera, English National Opera, Royal Danish Opera, Glyndebourne, the Berlin Staatsopera, Glimmerglass, New York City Opera, the list goes on. You have been hailed as Mozart specialists and have conducted all over the composer's operas all over the world. Your abundant discography includes a series of Mozart and Haydn symphonies with the London Mozart Players, and you've published 2 books, one each on Mozart and Handel. Your studies took you to St. Hugh's College in Oxford as a Fellow of the Royal College of Music and an honorary member of the Royal Academy of Music. You were named a Commander of the British Empire in 2003, New Year's Honors, and for your remarkable contributions to our students as well as to the artistic world, we honor and recognize you today.
Jane Glover, in recognition of your extraordinary contributions as a conductor, educator, and scholar, with the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Manhattan School of Music and the Board of Regents of the State of New York, it is my distinct honor to confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Musical Arts honoris causa. Congratulations, Dr. Glover. Almost. That's your turn. That's your diploma.
Well, President Gandry, Chairman, Provost, trustees, governors, faculty members, and most especially all of you who are graduating here today, I am more thrilled than I can say to be here at this fabulous occasion, at this very special junction in your lives. You've all worked so hard and achieved so much, and now stand at the very threshold of this great and important profession, of which we are all so privileged and lucky to be a part. Ceremonies like this one, with its brilliant combination of pomp and fanfare and solemnity and colour, and yet that quiet individual intimacy too, they're huge punctuation marks in our lives as musicians. But while we bask in the majesty of it all, we have to keep in mind that this punctuation mark is by no means a full stop. Rather, it's some sort of glorious semicolon. It marks certainly the end of one significant phase, but more importantly, it marks the beginning of another, a change of status, a change of routine, of goal, of perspective. Our development as musicians and as human beings, and we should never forget that these must always go together, never stops. I'm now in my 5th decade in this profession, but I know that I never stop learning. Every experience brings something new. As Tennyson put it so well, all experience is an arch where through gleams that untraveled world whose margin fades forever and forever as I move. Whether working with the greatest opera singers of the day or with 200 volunteer choristers for a huge choral work, whether with the mighty Cleveland Orchestra or the New York Philharmonic, or with a period instrument chamber ensemble, with music of the 17th century, where I started my life, or music of the 21st century, where I still love to do new music. All engagements bring challenges and rewards. And of course, in the last few years, I've been thrilled to add to my experience that of working here at the Manhattan School of Music with its great body of truly extraordinary talent. MSM is indeed a very special place. None of you who go away today with your degrees will ever forget it, and nor will I. I am truly honored to be part of it, and I thank you very much.
I now call upon Adolphus Hailstork to join me and President Gandry at the podium. Dr. Adolphus Hailstork, you are a world-renowned composer and have written numerous works for chorus, solo voice, piano, organ, chamber ensembles, band, orchestra, and opera. You received your doctorate in composition from Michigan State University, where you were a student of H. Owen Reed. Growing up in Albany, New York, and falling in love with many musical instruments, you went on to Howard University, where you earned a Bachelor of Arts prior to joining the Manhattan School of Music, where you subsequently earned the Bachelor of Music as well as the Master of Music, studying under Vittorio Giannini and David Diamond. Among your early compositions are Celebration, recorded by the Detroit Symphony, and two band works, Out of the Depth and American Gronka, that won national competitions. Your prize-winning consort piece was commissioned by the Norfolk Chamber Ensemble. Significant performances of your works by major orchestras have been led by notable conductors such as James DePriest, Paul Freeman, Daniel Barenboim, Kurt Mazur, Lauren Mazel, Joanne Folletta, and David Lockington. In March of this year, Thomas Wilkins conducted your On American Port of Call with the Boston Symphony Orchestra, a work that was previously recorded in 2012. Your second symphony, commissioned by the Detroit Symphony and premiered in 1999, was inspired by a trip to Ghana during which you saw dungeons where captive slaves had been held before being sent overseas. Your second and third symphonies, recorded by Naxos by the Grand Rapids Symphony Orchestra, were conducted by David Lockington, and your second opera, Joshua Boots, also premiered in 1999, was commissioned by the Opera Theater of St. Louis and the Kansas City Lyric Opera. Other commissions include an opera about the Underground Railroad, Rise for Freedom, which premiered in 2007 by the Cincinnati Opera Company, Set Me on a Rock for chorus and orchestra, which was a response to Hurricane Katrina, commissioned by the Houston Choral Society in 2008, and the choral ballet, The Gift of the Magi, for treble chorus and orchestra. Your other recent works include Zora, We're Calling You for speaker and orchestra, premiered in 2011, I Speak of Peace, in honor of President John F. Kennedy, which premiered in 2013, The World Called for soprano, chorus, and orchestra, commissioned and performed in 2018, and most recently, the Los Angeles Philharmonic, which commissioned and premiered Still Holding On. That same month, and in fact same day, we at the Manhattan School of Music celebrated you in performing your work, Epitaph for a Man Who Dreamed, led by none other than one of our other honoraries today, Jane Glover. As you said last night, the Manhattan School of Music helped charter your professional journey as a musician and composer, a course that led you to become professor of music and eminent scholar at Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia, for these contributions and your dedication to a career in which we document the remarkable history of humanity through music. We honor you today.
Adolphus Hailstork, in recognition of your extraordinary contributions as a composer and music educator, with the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Manhattan School of Music and the Board of Regents of the State of New York, it is my distinct honor to confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Musical Arts, honoris causa. Congratulations, Dr. Hailstork.
Thank you, son. Thank you very much. Like Jane said, this can be a juncture for you, all you graduates. For me, it was a pivotal point and a juncture also. Here's my story. I was in France studying at Nadia Boulanger's academy at Fontainebleau in 1963, and a piano teacher who taught at Manhattan School of Music asked me, what are my plans for graduate school? And I said, graduate school? What's that? Never even heard of it. But she said, well, I teach at Manhattan School of Music, and I will speak to the administration there, and although it is late in August, perhaps you could get admitted there. Well, it worked. That piano teacher was named Mary Weaver. And she was successful at giving my name forward. And I spent 3 wonderful years here, getting a second bachelor's degree in composition and a master's degree. I studied with Nicholas Flagello, Vittorio Giannini, Ludmila Yelela, and David Diamond during those years, while taking piano lessons with Mrs. Weaver. Eventually, I did go on to have a productive career in classical music as a college professor and composer. My composer's dreams were, and still are, to get published, performed, commissioned, and recorded. That seems to be a sensible path, and that has happened. In a way, I owe my professional life to the Manhattan School of Music and Mary Weaver, and I am very, very honored at this moment, and I wish you all well. Thank you.
I call upon Barry Harris to join President Gandry and me at the podium. Dr. Barry Harris, you are an internationally renowned jazz pianist, composer, arranger, and educator, considered among the foremost interpreters and exponents of the classical bebop style. For decades, you traveled the world as a true jazz ambassador. Your earliest musical mentor was your mother, who taught you to play your first song at the age of 4, which led you to studying with different teachers in Detroit, and eventually hearing the likes of Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, Bud Powell, Thelonious Monk, and others. By the late 1940s, you were sitting in with Charlie Parker and Gene Ammons at dance halls. In the early 1950s, you traveled to New York and recorded with Benny Golson, Thad Jones, Camel Jones, and other jazz greats. Later in Chicago, you recorded with Sonny Stitt, eventually playing with Miles Davis. You joined Max Roach's and Cannonball Adderley's bands in 1956 and 1960, respectively. You also recorded with Dexter Gordon and played with Coleman Hawkins and Lester Young. As a teacher, musicians have come from far afield to study with you, the likes of whom include Joe Henderson and Yusuf Lateef, among others. Others who have studied with you include luminaries such as Charlie McPherson, Lonnie Hiller, James Jamerson, Paul Chambers, and Harry Whitaker. Devoted to the tradition and the advancement of jazz, you have appeared as a guest lecturer at universities and musical venues the world over. You've given interactive workshops on all aspects of music and even held weekly music workshop sessions for vocalists, piano students, and other instrumentalists. You received the Living Legacy Jazz Award from the Mid-Atlantic Arts Foundation and an NEA Jazz Masters Fellowship, the highest honor bestowed by the National Endowment for the Arts on jazz artists. You are the recipient of honorary doctorates from Northwestern University and Lewis College of Business, and of the Award for Excellence from the Manhattan Bureau President. You received the 1999 Mentor Award for your work with youngsters at the Manhattan Country School in New York City. And today, the Manhattan School of Music thanks you, recognizes you, and honors you for your remarkable legacy, contributions to the advancement of music, and for educating and inspiring legions of students who hail from around the world.
Barry Harris, for your extraordinary contributions to and impact on jazz as a pianist, bandleader, composer, and educator, with the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Manhattan School of Music and the Board of Regents of the State of New York, it is my distinct honor to confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Musical Arts honoris causa. Congratulations, Dr. Harris.
Thank you. I'd like to say to all the young musicians, I've been at this since I was 4. And so this is that means 85 years I've been playing music. And I've learned so much. I've learned that, well, see, people call jazz, I call it the continuation of classical theory. You see, some people have the idea that maybe Chopin and Bach and them were the end of it all. That's bull. Music has no end. Music is math. You never heard the end of math in your life. So music has no end. So there's a lot more beautiful music to be played. Some people think it's time for numbers and different things. Believe me. And there are a lot of things that we haven't discovered. I've discovered things in my life that I would love to have the opportunity to tell you. This is too short to tell you. Scales that they didn't tell us. Scales that I found in etudes and things other people didn't even know about. But anyway, my parting thing would be, someday today, help me there. Someday, or sometimes today, you may stand and say this with me, please. We'll say it. Stand. Singers, stand. Musicians, here we go. Sometimes today, it seems like yesterday, when we would romp and play, each day a holiday. We'd sing and dance and prance and have such fun. Beneath a smiling sun, our lives have just begun. Now life's journey starts with many ups and downs. The road goes round and round until your path is finally found. So sometimes today seems like yesterday. That's where I'd love to stay, if only for a day. If only for a day. Thank you.
I am pleased to introduce this year's student speaker representing the class of 2019, Master's candidate Sarah Branowell.
Today is May 10th, 2019, a big, big day. The 93rd Manhattan School of Music Commencement Ceremony and the culmination of the centennial year celebrations. It is my second time graduating from this school, and it is also my 24th birthday. I've spent 6 years of my life as a student here, 25% of my life. Not that long compared to some. In these formative years, I have learned a lot about music, a lot about people, and even more about myself. Perhaps the most poignant thing I've come to realize is that we reach our highest potential together and not alone. It is through community, collaboration, and personal connections that we are most fulfilled and make our best art. I have been luckier than I could have ever imagined in the friends and connections I've made in the past 6 years. The first friend I made even before I responded to my admissions decision in the spring of 2013. I was at MSM with my mom, and we had extra time before my trial lesson, so we went on the tour for our second time. I'm glad we did because I met my best friend and longtime roommate. Of course, she's also a singer named Sarah. I remember seeing her in the library. She seemed like a smart and nice and a so I said, perhaps too bluntly, "Hey, you look pretty normal." Sarah, a bit taken aback, replied, yeah, I think I am. I said, "Awesome. If you decide to go to school here, would you want to be roommates?" She laughed and gave me a very friendly, maybe, yeah. Despite my forward proposal, she later agreed to be my roommate. She inspires me to always find empathy with others and to really listen louder. We should all listen louder. It never hurts to ask people for what you want. The worst thing that can happen is that they say no. It was from Dr. Pagano that I learned the Manhattan School of Music motto. Macte virtute sic itur ad astra. Those who excel reach the stars. Such a lovely image, but what does that really mean? To excel means to rise higher than, to power, to surpass. I don't think this needs to mean that we have to be better than or taller than everyone else in order to be successful. It doesn't seem helpful to me to focus on being better than my peers, and I really don't tower over anyone at a very average 5 feet and 4 inches tall. But I have risen to surpass myself and my expectations, and I think my time here has brought me close to touching the stars. Every year, I have encountered new obstacles on my journey, always finding ways to be resilient when facing disappointment. But I've also been surprised by what I am capable of when I have found success. When I studied karate growing up, I learned a Japanese proverb that I really, really love. Fall down 7 times, stand up 8. A good metaphor for a clumsy person like myself. Being an artist means you have to be stubborn and welcome your failures as opportunities to learn. And sometimes it's really, really hard to pull yourself back up, but try to remember that you don't have to do it by yourself. You have an entire team of family, friends, and mentors to help you. I could have not grown into the person I have become without the people that inspire me daily to be my best. My teacher, Ashley Putnam, who has become more than just my mentor, has shown me how to sail my ship, how to tell a compelling story, always reminding me to stay fascinated in what I'm doing. We are never done solving our problems and discovering new things. The breadth of what we do allows us to forever be students, and it energizes me to know that I could never, ever possibly be bored in this field. My coaches and collaborators who have made it possible for me to sing all the crazy rep I've wanted to do, some of it I'm really, really sorry about. My friends and fellow students who I've had the honor of getting to know and walk alongside in our journey here. My teachers who have taught me many things like how to derive a Pythagorean comma, Wagner's last words, and how to pretend you have energy when you obviously don't. My family that supports me not only in attending almost all of my performances, but also through their advice, reassurance, and love. All the people that I have had the privilege of knowing in my time here have given me courage to keep pursuing my life in music. MSM is a neighborhood, a house with a bunch of different families and departments cohabitating the same place. I walk in the main entrance and say good morning to Monica. I run into Manly and Mario while I'm at my locker before rehearsal. I go to rehearsal, then to class, then to practice, then to another rehearsal, then I go to work. I get to be surrounded by creatives all day. I say goodnight to the custodians and security guards on my way out the door. It is not just the wonderful discipline I am privileged to practice, but it is also the connections I've made in these halls, those halls, that have made me want to come back day after 13-hour day. I have spent many hours of my time at MSM in classes, rehearsals, practice rooms, and performances. I have looked at my transcripts and I have taken a total of 110 classes and ensembles and have earned 187 credits. A full-time student. But I have also spent a lot of my time as a part-time employee working for house staff, production, campus store, mail and copy room, and admissions. A huge thank you to all of my bosses. These jobs have allowed me to most fully appreciate the various components of the creative process that informs a musician's life. I've had the opportunity to meet so many of you and watch you grow as people and artists. I met a lot of you while you were here to audition, and again in the store with your families during orientation, selling you MSM merchandise and books. I worked backstage and in the house for your recitals and concerts. I've seen how the nervous backstage person flips an instant switch to become the superhuman performer on stage. I've seen the power of musical collaborations on the smaller and larger scales, and then very happily went to your receptions. I thank you all immensely for the free calories. Every college student knows you find the free food where you can. One of the most vivid memories I have here is the day after the election in 2016. A day we realized how polarized this country has become. That Wednesday also happened to be the day of the Stephanie Blythe Voice Masterclass that year. I walked into Greenfield dragging my feet, not feeling the excitement I normally would be. Shortly after I sat down, Stephanie Blythe did something magical. She took the singer she was working with on stage and started tangoing with her while she was dancing and singing, trying to inspire the energy that the piece called for. I'm forever grateful to her because she made everyone laugh and helped transport us away from what had been occupying our minds all day. Just for a moment, we felt like everything was going to be okay. It should never be discounted that the art we make can heal and transform people. Through my experience as a student and as an employee, I have come to realize that even though much of an artist's life is spent alone in practice rooms, honing technique, the most valuable discoveries I have made as an artist have been in rehearsals or classes, watching performance, being on stage, discovering new things with my musical family. Making it a musician does not mean that you have to live a lonely life of dedicated isolation to find greatness. Being constantly reminded of how creative my friends and family are and how much their abilities have grown over the years is something I will always treasure. My sincere thanks to all of you, even the people I never had the pleasure of meeting. I don't know what is next for me after today, but I do know that embracing community and finding as many fulfilling collaborative experiences as possible is how I want to live the rest of my life. Thank you.
I now bring Peter Gelb to the podium to present the commencement address.
Thank you. Thank you. And since President Gandry has taken off his hat, I think I might as well. President Gandry, Provost Griggs, members of the Board of Trustees, faculty, staff, my fellow honorees whose accomplishments I am truly awed by, I'm very pleased to be speaking to you today since you are the vanguard of classical music and jazz. It's good to see that reinforcements are on the way. Congratulations for your talent and dedication and for your considerable achievements that are being recognized today. Whether this is a step towards even greater academic pursuits or the portal to a career in music as a performer or composer or administrator, or whether you will be entering other fields, though now as a more culturally enriched person, today is an important milestone in your life. I know that I join your families and friends in applauding your accomplishments. Right. 3 miles to the south at the Metropolitan Opera, we'll be having the equivalent of our own commencement exercise tomorrow, the last day of our demanding 33-week season, and we're going out with a bit of a bang. At noon, we have a matinee performance of Dialogue of the Carmelites, simultaneously being beamed live into more than 2,000 movie theaters across 11 time zones, as well as being heard by an audience on the radio in the millions. And after changing massive sets, we then have a 6-hour evening performance of Götterdämmerung, the finale of the 4-hour epic you all know as the Ring Cycle. As you know, the Ring is about leaders with no sense of accountability who recklessly destroy the world. If that all sounds painfully familiar, you'll be relieved to know that at the end of the ring, the world is saved. In the case of our own current events, it remains to be seen if life will imitate art. Just a few subway stops away, the Metropolitan Opera is one of the most formidable forces in the performing arts. In fact, it is the largest nonprofit performing arts company in the world, with an annual budget of $300 million and some full-time and part-time 3,200 employees. My road to becoming the head of this august institution 14 years ago, and how I've attempted to keep it in step with the changing times, may be of interest to those of you who aren't yet certain what you're going to do with the rest of your lives. I grew up in Manhattan and was intoxicated by the excitement of the theater, which was instilled in me by my parents. When I was a little boy,
my father was a drama critic for the New York Times, and my mother was an arts writer. When I was 5, they took me to see Hamlet, and when I was 8, to hear Barbra Streisand. By the time I graduated from high school, I knew I wanted to pursue a career in the performing arts. I had worked part-time as an usher at the Met when I was in 11th grade, in fact. I was stationed in the standing room of the family circle, the nosebleed section of the opera house, where my job was to keep the peace among the rabid opera fans who would attend every night to cheer on their favorite singers, and sometimes, in a state of overenthusiasm, would get into fights with each other. My job was to keep the peace, sometimes relying on the assistance of the off-duty firemen who moonlighted as the Met's security force. But it was from this vantage point that I heard the most impressive singers of the day, the greatest Italian soprano of her time, Renata Tebaldi, Callas's rival for the title of prima donna assoluta, Franco Corelli, the forerunner of Pavarotti as the world's leading tenor, and the incomparable Leontine Price, who opened the new Met at Lincoln Center in 1966. From my position in the standing room section about 150 feet from the stage, hearing those unforgettable voices amidst the gold leaf and red velvet of this operatic palace, it made me fall in love with opera and the Met. Little did I know then that I was destined to someday run it. When I graduated from high school at 17, I decided not to go to college right away, and instead was hired full-time as the assistant office boy for Saul Hurok, a legendary producer of concerts and ballet. My immediate superior was the 80-year-old chief office boy, whose name was Scotty Bolton, and who liked to make fun of Mr. Hurok's thriftiness by saying that he had short arms and deep pockets. Mr. Hurok was a very flamboyant impresario. He would arrive for work wearing a black cape, a gray fedora hat, and a silver-tipped cane. That was back in the day. My responsibilities were mimeographing press releases, answering telephones, and running errands. After a year, I left Mr. Hurok and joined a small company of press agents in the performing arts. One of my clients was the salsa performer La Lupe, who would dress in silver lame jumpsuits and whose hyperbolic press bio said she was exiled from Cuba because Fidel Castro felt threatened by her popularity. When I was 24, I was hired by the Boston Symphony Orchestra to be its director of promotion, and I soon became the orchestra's assistant manager and had the wide-eyed idea of organizing a trip for the orchestra to visit China in 1978 at the end of the Chinese Cultural Revolution, one of the blackest periods in recent Chinese history when millions lost their lives through purge after purge. After decades of being cut off from the rest of the world, China was now attempting to formalize its relations with the United States. I remember the presidents of the going back in time is not easy. Seiji Ozawa, who was then the Boston Symphony's conductor, and I spent many late-night hours calling Chinese bureaucrats in the foreign ministry, trying to ensure that Deng Xiaoping, then China's paramount ruler, would personally extend an invitation to the Boston Symphony. We knew that such an invitation from him would galvanize the political and business leaders in Washington into backing our extraordinary trip. In order to turn our idea into reality, I told the Boston Symphony's very conservative board that even though we had not yet been formally invited to China, we needed to announce our plans to the public. I remember the president of the board sadly shaking his head at me as he said, "Peter, you've gone over the falls," meaning that my job was at stake. But my instinct was that the announcement, although perhaps premature, was necessary to ensure that we would actually be invited. In fact, our advance announcement generated news coverage, and when Deng Xiaoping reached Washington a few days later to sign a peace treaty with then-President Jimmy Carter, from the stage of the Kennedy Center, he publicly invited the Boston Symphony to China. The orchestra received the funding from a consortium of American companies eager to do business there, and it turned out to be a momentous trip combining politics and the arts that landed on the front pages of newspapers around the world. Ultimately, the board of the Symphony Orchestra of the Boston Symphony was pleased too, so I got to keep my job. Looking back, I know that had I hesitated in my actions and not trusted my instincts, the tour would not have taken place. I then joined Columbia Artists a concert management agency, the leading one at the time, and became the manager of Vladimir Horowitz, who was the most famous classical pianist in the world. Mr. Horowitz was very neurotic, but he also taught me some very important lessons, like the value of acoustics. He once said to me, "If the check is good, the acoustics are good." He also taught me to read a menu from right to left, like Hebrew, he said. But Horowitz was so neurotic that he actually believed that if his exact diet was not meticulously maintained, he would not be able to survive, let alone perform. In order to convince him to perform his historic return concert to Moscow during the Cold War in 1985, at a time when Gorbachev had come to power and political change was on the horizon, I had to guarantee Mr. Horowitz fresh Dover sole for dinner every night while he would be in the Soviet Union. This was at a time during the Cold War when even a fresh tomato was difficult to obtain on the Moscow black market. However, the Dover sole was achieved for Horowitz through a diplomatic initiative between several Western nations, ultimately resulting in the British ambassador airlifting the sole from London to Moscow 3 times a week. I remember members of the U.S. Embassy staff wore T-shirts that said, "Dover Sole Airlift Ground Crew." The world's attention was focused on this concert because Gorbachev and Ronald Reagan, then president, had signed a peace accord. And a few months earlier, and Horowitz's concert was decreed by the two leaders to be the symbolic start of a better relationship between our two countries. During this time, when I was attempting to manage Mr. Horowitz, I had also become a producer and director of films and television programs about music. So I planned to produce Horowitz's Moscow concert live to television networks around the world, including CBS, which was going to take advantage of the time difference to schedule the entire concert as a special live feature of its Sunday morning news magazine program. Since we didn't wish to rely upon the then antiquated Soviet television technology, I insisted on bringing our own modern TV equipment from Switzerland, including trucks. However, 1 week before the concert, the Soviet authorities blocked our equipment from crossing the Polish-Soviet border. Faced with the alarming possibility of producing a second-rate program using Soviet antiquated equipment, I had to make another difficult, high-stakes gamble. I threatened to cancel this historic performance if our trucks and crew weren't allowed into the country. However, since at this point the Soviet authorities were no longer returning my phone calls, I needed the help of the American ambassador, Arthur Hartman, to deliver this message. In a staged conversation in a hallway in his residence, which was heavily bugged with KGB listening devices, I told the ambassador that Horowitz was furious with the Soviet authorities and that we would be leaving Moscow without the performance ever taking place. Amazingly, within minutes, the phone rang, and my Soviet handlers offered to meet. At the meeting, I warned them that they would be held accountable for undermining the U.S.-Soviet peace accord that Gorbachev had signed, and that Horowitz would be on the next plane out of Moscow. Rather than risk this calamitous turn of events and being sent to Siberia, they backed down and the borders were opened. The concert and the television broadcast were a global success, and I had learned 2 valuable on-the-job lessons. In life, avoid compromises that you know you will not be satisfied with, and don't make ultimatums unless you are prepared to carry them out. When I was 40, I was appointed the president of Sony Classical, an international record label. Our most successful recording was the soundtrack for the blockbuster movie Titanic, featuring Celine Dion's ballad My Heart Will Go On, which sold 28 million copies and helped furnish my then new apartment. I also made some missteps. I released an album in conjunction with the Vatican of the recorded homilies and prayers of the Polish Pope John Paul, set to a New Age soundtrack. Although a success in Poland and landing the Pope on the Billboard New Artist Heat Seeker chart, it failed just about everywhere else. However, I did get to meet the Pope, and in a Sunday Mass in St. Peter's Square, he publicly blessed my record label. In the fall of 2004, I received a phone call from Beverly Sills, the great diva who is sadly no longer with us. At the time, she was the chairman of the Met's board. Even though I had never run an opera company, Beverly invited me to be interviewed by the search committee of the Met, which was anxious to find a replacement for my powerful predecessor, Joseph Volpe, who was somewhat famous for once telling a difficult soprano, "Your wig is going on stage with or without you." By the time Beverly called me, I had worked in the performing arts as a press agent, a manager, a producer, director, and record label chief. But the one position I had always dreamed about was general manager of the Metropolitan Opera. I was interviewed by the search committee of the board, to whom I expressed my concerns about opera's relevance, grand opera's relevance, observing that the Met was suffering from cultural isolationism and an elitist image. Nevertheless, they hired me. Having laid down the gauntlet that grand opera needed to change, I now face the greatest challenge of my career. Although the Met is renowned, at the time I took it over, it was suffering from an old and declining audience and a negative image of not only elitism, but theatrical stodginess. The average age of our audience was 65, and even more alarming was that 5 years earlier it had been 60. Our audience was aging, but not gracefully. The Met was like the Titanic of cultural institutions, difficult to maneuver and slowly sinking. In my first weeks at work there, I was warned that change was not possible. One senior employee responded to my call for a new approach to artistic planning by saying, "Excuse me, but you're my fourth general manager." An assistant stage director stopped me in a darkened hallway to say, in whispering tones, "This is a medieval institution." However, it's now been 14 years, not that I'm counting, but with a contract that says I have to be available 24/7, my work has not always been simple. One of the Met's board members apocryphally cites Winston Churchill as having said that the only undertaking more complicated than putting on opera is waging war. With its 3,000 plus employees I mentioned earlier, including the members of 15 different labor unions, the Met is a complex organism involved in an intense fight for opera's survival, and sometimes I feel like Sisyphus rolling the boulder up the mountain only to see it roll back down. In a never-ending attempt to stimulate existing audiences and win new ones, we have launched one entrepreneurial effort after another, while continuing to tinker with the daunting economics of high labor costs and the necessary reliance on the generosity of our donors to balance our $300 million budget. So far, we have managed to find the path that has kept us in business. Perhaps the single most impactful of these new activities has been the Met Live in HD series of live performance transmissions into movie theaters and performing arts centers around the world. Now, hundreds of thousands of opera fans have gotten used to being united 10 times each season as we transmit our 1 p.m. matinee performances live into movie theaters and performing arts centers from San Francisco to Moscow. Our northernmost live outlet is Tromsø, Norway, inside the Arctic Circle, and our southernmost venues are in southern Argentina and Uruguay. Further east in Asia, Australia, and New Zealand, where the time difference is too great, the transmissions are shown on a time-delayed basis. This season, our transmissions are being seen in 73 countries and on every continent except Antarctica. To serve our global audience, we utilize 6 different satellites that carry signals encoded with subtitles in 8 different languages. More than 27 million people have now seen the Met in movie theaters. Who would have thought that so many would be enjoying grand opera and a hot dog for less than it costs to attend a baseball game? The HD programs have also had a profound impact on our casting and have helped reinforce good acting on our stage, since singers know that even when they're not singing, they might be seen in a close-up reaction shot. This makes them stay in character throughout, which is a benefit to the audience in the opera house as well. Long gone are the days when the Met used to keep food stashes available in hidden corners of the stage for Luciano Pavarotti, who would snack between arias. The prospect of singing to a live worldwide audience also inspires our singers to greater vocal achievements. When the stakes are highest, like for the greatest athletes who break records at the Olympics, our stars inevitably sing their best on a Saturday matinee HD transmission. Making changes at an institution like the Met wasn't easy. At first, I received complaints from longtime opera lovers who were critical of any change at all, and from newspaper critics who were suspicious of my motives. In fact, they still are. But as the great American playwright Eugene O'Neill once said of his critics, God bless every bone in their heads. Of course, not all of my initiatives were as successful as I hoped, but I knew that to ultimately succeed, I had to be faithful to my larger vision for change, while also being flexible enough to accept constructive criticism and advice from the team that I had assembled to implement these changes. A strong vision is one in which you also allow yourself to acknowledge mistakes and to adapt and learn from them. To the 323 gifted graduates today, I offer this advice. Search for knowledge through the experiences that lie ahead of you, and take calculated risks in order to achieve what you believe in. That's the formula that has worked for me. Good luck to all of you, and congratulations. Thank you.
Now is the moment for which we have come together, the conferring of the earned degrees upon the Manhattan School of Music class of 2019. I first call upon Dr. Jeffrey Langford, Associate Dean for Doctoral Studies, to introduce the candidates for the DMA degree.
Thank you, Monica. Will the candidates for the degree Doctor of Musical Arts please rise? President Gandry, upon the recommendation of the faculty, it is my distinct pleasure to present the candidates for the degree Doctor of Musical Arts.
Dr. Langford, upon the recommendation of the faculty and by the authority vested in me by the trustees of Manhattan School of Music and the Board of Regents of the State of New York, I now confer upon these worthy candidates, subject to their satisfactory completion of program requirements, the degree of Doctor of Musical Arts with all the rights, privileges, immunities, and obligations thereunto appertaining. Please come up onto the stage as your name is called so that you may be hooded and receive our congratulations and best wishes.
Our first candidate in composition is Yu-Chun Chen. Dr. Chen's thesis was titled The Refusal of Habits in Helmut Lachenmann's Solo Piano Music. And I should also mention that Yu-Chun is currently serving as a visiting professor of music at West Virginia University College of the Creative Arts. Next in piano is Michael Crowley. Dr. Crowley's thesis was titled Robert Schumann's Waldszenen, a song cycle without words. This is a thesis that draws attention to the relationship between these short descriptive piano pieces of Schumann and the work of several 19th century poets on whom Schumann based his composition. Next, in cello, we have May-En Grace Ho. Dr. Ho's thesis, an analytic study of Cheng-Yu Shan's Song for Cello and Piano and Monologue for Cello Solo. As a part of her thesis, Grace presented a lecture recital discussing some of the fascinating contemporary cello techniques found in the music of this important Taiwanese composer. Next, in collaborative piano, we have Paul Jarsky. Dr. Jarsky's thesis was titled Thematic Development in Debussy's Pelléas et Mélisande. In this thesis, Paul investigates the compositional parallels between the music of Debussy and his arch nemesis, Richard Wagner. Next, in voice, Scott Joyner. Dr. Joyner's thesis was Eric Saltzman, a dynamic force in 20th century music and beyond. I should tell you that Scott was a personal friend of Eric Saltzman and has been serving as the artistic executor of his estate since his untimely death in 2017. Now in collaborative piano again, Hee-Kyung Lee. Dr. Lee's thesis was Musical Allusions to J.S. Bach's St. John and St. Matthew Passions in Beethoven, Fanny Mendelssohn, and Brahms. What Hee-Kyung did was to present a thesis lecture recital in which she traced the numerous quotations of Bach in these important 19th century composers. Next in piano, Mi-jung Lee. Dr. Lee's thesis was Bach, a Lost Partita, the Mystery of the Goldberg Variations. In this thesis, Mi-jung explains how Bach embedded in a hidden fashion an entire dance suite within the Goldberg Variations. I should also mention that I think Mi-jung holds the record for the most number of years served at Manhattan School of Music. She began in the pre-college in the year 2001. Next, in saxophone, Wonky Lee. Wonky's thesis was the practical application of vocal tract resonance in saxophone pedagogy. This was a highly scientific thesis that dealt with the effects of changes in a player's oral cavity on the various aspects of saxophone tone production. And in addition, I believe he is the second longest running student at the Manhattan School of Music, having started in the pre-college in 2005. And speaking of scientific theses, next we have in piano Yida Lin. Yida's thesis was Brain Network Activity Predicts How Well Musicians Can Detect Deviant Chords. A provocative title if I ever heard one. Yida is currently pursuing a second master's degree in computer science at Columbia University. His thesis, in fact, grew out of some of the work that he's been doing in this new field. and I'm sure I'm going to need another doctoral degree myself in a different field to follow some of these dissertations. Next, in piano, Kyriakos Souroulas. Dr. Souroulas' thesis was the influence of symbolist poetry on the music of Debussy, Scriabin, and Schoenberg. And in this thesis, Kyriakos discusses actual musical equivalents of specific structural devices found in the symbolist poetry of some important late 19th century poets. And lastly, in piano, we have Moon-Young Yang. Dr. Yang's thesis was the piano recital as a multimedia event, past, present, and future. Moon-Young's thesis traces the history of the use of multimedia as a method for bringing some much-needed visual variety to traditional piano recitals. My hearty congratulations to all of you new doctors.
Doctoral students, please be seated. I now call upon Provost Griggs to introduce the candidate for the Artist Diploma.
Will the candidate for the Artist Diploma please rise? President Gandry, upon the recommendation of the faculty, it is my pleasure to present the candidate for Artist Diploma, Sung-Jin Lee.
Provost Griggs, upon the recommendation of the faculty and by the authority vested in me by the trustees of Manhattan School of Music and the Board of Regents of the State of New York, I confer upon this worthy candidate, subject to her satisfactory completion of the program requirements, the Artist Diploma, with all the rights, privileges, immunities, obligations thereunto appertaining. Sung-Jin Lee, please move your tassel from the right to the left side of your cap. Actually, move your cap. and receive our congratulations.
I now call upon Provost Griggs to introduce the candidates for the Professional Studies Certificate.
Will the candidates for the Professional Studies Certificate please rise? President Gandry, upon the recommendation of the faculty, it is my pleasure to present the candidates for the Professional Studies Certificate.
Provost Griggs, upon the recommendation of the faculty and by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Manhattan School of Music and the Board of Regents of the State of New York, I confer upon these worthy candidates, subject to their satisfactory completion of program requirements, the Professional Studies Certificate, with all the rights, privileges, immunities, and obligations thereunto appertaining. Please move your tassels from the right to the left of your cap, and please come up onto stage as your name is called, so that you may receive our congratulations.
Chao Yu. Sonia Bees. Wenqi Che. Mengyi Chen. Sulki Cho. Morgan Fight. Alana Fraze. Hanyan Gu. Siho Ha. John Han. Wei Zhang. James Kim. William Kim. Youngjung Kim. Alberto Greer Menhon Bohana. Lahir Ni. Maki Omoli. Alithia Rando Ibanith. Anna Takeda. Yangchi Wang. Yi Wang. Yue Xiang Shu. Gung Zhang. Maho Irie.
Let's have another round of applause for our professional studies recipients. Now, will the candidates for the degree of the Master of Music please rise? President Gandry, upon the recommendation of the faculty, it is my pleasure to present the candidates for the degree of Master of Music.
Provost Griggs, upon the recommendation of the faculty and by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Manhattan School of Music and the Board of Regents of New York State, I now confer upon these worthy candidates, subject to their satisfactory completion of program requirements, the degree of Master of Music, with all the rights, privileges, immunities, and obligations thereunto appertaining. Please move your tassels from the right to the left of your cap, and please come up onto stage as your name is called, so that you may receive our congratulations.
Melissa Alelis. Sean C. Britt. Zach Brown. Sean Burke. Shengnan Chao. Xiaotong Zhao. Michelle Capano. Sarah Brownowell. Haoxiong Bian. Joseph Carlomagno. Bridget Casey. Yulin Chong. Colton Taylor Chapman. Lingling Chen. Shasha Chen. Sohee Choi. Sukyung Choi. Eugene Choi. John Clancy. Shelby Faith Cody. Catherine Nicole Collins. Xiaoyo Dai. Robinson de Montmolen. Tianyu Deng. Eva Ding. Addison Evans. Gabriella Fahnenstiel. Thomas Fung. Selena Fisher. Edward Forstman. Mayor Fries. Cheryl Mayer Fries. Hannah Emily Friesen. Noemi Gulobovich. Joshua Gombaroff. Luang Shong Hu. Bin Gui. Xiaoya Guo. Sasha Gutierrez Montano. Elizabeth Harris. Savannah Grace Harris. Si Ying He. Pei Yao Hu. Yua Huang. Moon Young Chong. Mendran Jia. Unsul Sharon Zhou. I'm glad I got it right. Hwansu Kang. Seungmin Kang. Julia Elaine Keefe. Jungwoo Ko. Chorong Kim. Ki-hwan Kim. Oh my goodness. Hensi Kim. Joo-hyun Kim. Jongbae Kim. Min Kyung Kim. Shinji Kim. Oh my goodness. Shinha Kim. Where's your card? Huh? Ye-young Kim. Can they bring the cards? Sarah Convalin. Min-young Kwan. Amanda Beth Larkin. Juan Jose Lazaro. Unsung Lee. Hangul Lee. Juri Lee. Yongjae Lee. As in earn, without the Ho Hin Lung. Alexandra Lee. Shu Sian-Winnie Lee. Shuai Lee. Jiacheng Teddy Lee. Ting Lee. Wenzhe Lee. Yun Lee. Yang Lee. Uh-oh, where's your card? Your card. Zibo Lee. Lincoln Chi-Cheng Lin. Xiaoya Liu. Nicholas Lucasen. Madeline Luna. Wenja Ma. Elizabeth Ann Mandich Nowak. Chantal A. Martin. Christian Mailer. Gerardo Miranda. Paul Mitzi. Christopher L. Monson. Martina Morello. Shannon Josephine Murphy. Yong Murray. Hannah Nachman. Dasha Nenartovich. Osip Nikiforov. Hyunju Oh. Sokyung Oh. Eunhae Park. Ji-yoon Park. Somin Kelsey Park. Ujin Park. Yoonhee Park. Yoonji Park. Nicholas Ryan Pennington. Austin Philemon. Michelle Marie Pokley. Rachel Querveld. Pinghua Ren. Ziyu Shi. Dongwei Shen. Xin Chao. I know this one. Erin Anna Reppenhagen. Xavier. Daniel Colin Xavier Rich. Alexandrovich. Andrei Alexandrovich Romanov. I like a challenge. Emily Sampson. Curtis Seraphin. Siddhant Saith. Siddhant Saith. Sojung Shin. Wick Simmons. Kelly Singer. Marcel Sokolsky. Hiso Son. Jinghui Song. Ray Song. Phoebe Tsai. Caitlin Marie Turner. Oh, I've been waiting for you. I've been waiting. Kasheni Andriana Tuvaris. Joseph Roy O. Varela. Shu Wang. Yiting Wang. Megan Grace Wei. Dongfang Wen. Yuzhong Wan. William Woodard. Jinjing Wu. Siyi Wu. Yuhua Wu. Shu. Jenny Shu. Zeite Shue. Really? Ken Ichimaru Yanagasawa. Sho Chenchuchi Yang. Heejin Yang. Nope, you go up. Shuo Yang. Yuan Chao Yang. Zhongyul Li. Lily Wei Yi. Hoyer Yu. Fan Yu. Tianran Yu. Ji Yuan. Daying Rita Zhang. Jigeng Zhang. Iki Zhang. Chuchi Zhen. Wen Zhang. Yi Chong. Guining Zhou. Ke Carl Zhu. I'll talk to you next week. Sunga Bake. Patrick John Kreider. Olivia Louise Peedy. Gustavo Lacey. Jisun O.
Congratulations. Let's give our Master of Music student degree recipients another round of applause. Will the candidates for the Bachelor of Music please rise? President Gandry, upon the recommendation of the faculty, it is my pleasure to present the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Music.
Provost Griggs, upon the recommendation of the faculty and by the authority vested in me by the trustees of Manhattan School of Music and the Board of Regents of the State of New York, I now confer upon these worthy candidates, subject to their satisfactory completion of program requirements, the degree of Bachelor of Music, with all the rights, privileges, immunities, and obligations thereunto appertaining. Please come up onto the stage as your name is called so that you may receive our congratulations and best wishes. For now, do not remove your tassels from the right side of your mortarboards.
Francesca Grace Abusamra. Jennifer Ahn. easy. Abdul Rahman Amer. Carly Christina Baker. Margaret Rose Baker. Elin Bao. Yeah, I've been practicing. Daria Barabanova. Riley Bragg. Michael Brennan. Nicola Caminiti. Yachi Tao. Ramon Carrero Martinez. Miguel Angel Segura Monsalve. E. Chen. Scott Chu. Hyunjung Choi. Joanne Chu. Elise Marie Conti. Morgan Leah Davison. Shuying Ding. Imiao Fong. Xin Yao Fong. Christopher Fishman. Jason Antoine Flowers II. Adam Goldstein. Yawen Guan. Joheng Guo. Drew Weston Harder. Tsue Huang. Tuyua Wang. Nicole Ray James. Chris Jisuk John. Edie Zhao. Oh, wow. This is the other one I've been practicing. Kalia Plamanova Kalcheva. Yichi Kong. Yvette Keong. Liav Kerbel. All of them. Ryung Un Kim Sali Kim. Sorry. Samuel James Krivda. Michael Windsor Lamar. Peter Luzorchik. Chin Lee. Edward Hanbin Lim. Sining Liu. Jihao Liu. Jeffrey Wayne Lupton. Melissa Lubars. Yeah, I know you had to do this to me. Niles Tagawoma Semakula Luther. Veronica Mock. Sage McBride. Tal McGee. Jacob Anthony Messinetti. Joshua Jordan Merman. Sinam Claudia Ng. Nat Nguyen. Bennett Todd Norris. Guhan Pang. Victoria Alexandra Policht. Christina Marie Parsons. Dudley Allen Rain IV. Jonathan Sales. Lauren R. Scanio. Melanie Beryl Spector. Rachel Lee Steinbacher. Adriana Jasmine Svitak. Bishon Takavi. Joseph Tancredi. David Vasquez. Armando Abel Vergara. Aaron Wagner. Chen Xiang Wang. Guolong Wang. Jennifer Wang. Ziyi Wang. Jacob Wilkinson. Toby Antonius Winarto. Matt Wong. Yingmega Zhong. Roy Siu. Yunchu Siu. Hulam Yu. Hejin Yoon. Yu Zhang. Jilin Zhang. Dayao Zhang. Yunchan Zhou. Zihao Zhou. James Edward Zito III.
Okay, I think this is... So let's have another round of applause for our bachelor's degree recipients. And now, for a symbolic moment, I would like all the undergraduate recipients to stay standing, and please join me as I lead you in transferring your tassel from the right side of your mortarboard to the left side, which signifies your graduation, your earned degree. So on 3. 1, 2, and 3. Please be seated. Please join me in thanking all of today's performers. First, our brass and percussion ensemble, which brought us in and in a moment will usher us out of this ceremony. Thank you so much. And also for our 2 chamber groups who performed our 2 musical interludes. As we end this ceremony, I want to leave our graduates, our newest alumni, with just a few thoughts. I urge you to go on your individual journeys, to blaze new trails, take leaps that you know will lead to great things, even when it's scary. Push through self-doubt, and be true to yourselves. Use your great creativity and your intellect and explore your passions so you can create a life that you want for yourself. If you follow in the footsteps of other MSM alumni, and you will, your life journeys will be extraordinarily interesting and varied. Some of you will have a full-time life in music, either as a performer and or teacher or professor and or arts administrator. For others of you, life will lead you off in directions that you cannot perhaps now imagine. No matter what you do or where you do it, I urge you to remain true to yourselves and your convictions, especially your passions. Follow your heart and use your head. If you authentically do these things, remain true to your convictions and passions, and follow your heart and use your head, you will end up in the right place for you. And in doing so, you will meet your own expectations for your life, not anyone else's, yours. All of us at MSM are so proud of you and so happy that you are all now alumni of this great institution. We look forward to hearing about your journeys, wherever they lead, and whatever you do. So now go forth, do wonderful and special things for yourself and for our very precious world, which we all share. Thank you.
This concludes the 93rd Commencement exercises of Manhattan School of Music. You are all invited to join us for a reception which will take place in the Alan M. and Joan Taub Aids Performance Space and Terrace at Manhattan School of Music. Graduates, on your way, you may stop in Sakura Park for the MSM Cap Toss. Families, please enter the entrances marked by balloons. Accessible doors are marked by blue balloons. Please rise for the recessional and remain standing until the last of the graduates have processed completely out of the sanctuary.